Carissa. I worked with Andrea for nearly 20 years at Wagstaff doing PR and marketing for hospitality clients. I've been consulting for the last few years, and I'm starting a new role on Monday with a produce distributor called Midwest Foods. I started Together Hospitality in Chicago with Derek a few years ago. We started talking about it 5 years ago, I think, and actually launched 3 years ago. And I'm so happy to be here. So excited to work with Andrea to launch this chapter. So this moment is what we call the educational nugget. One thing that we've done throughout our careers is media training, preparing our clients to do interviews with journalists. So I thought today I'd talk through some tips for how best to prepare for that. Starting off with reducing your message to 3 core points. So in an interview, the journalist is going to ask you a lot of questions. You have the most control in the interview as opposed to who's interviewing you. You can take whatever question they're asking you and turn it into a message point that you want to get across to them. The best way that you can prepare for an interview is to choose your 3 main message points that you want to get across and make sure that you're going back to those time and time again. You can answer a question and then use a bridge to get to the actual answer that you want to say. And some core message points that you can think to have ready to go. One is maybe, what's the concept of the restaurant? What is your backstory? You come up with ways to bring those into the conversation as you're being asked questions. Go to the next one. Prepare responses to difficult questions. Say you've had trouble with staffing in the past, or you've run into issues with local regulations on something. You may want to be prepared to answer questions that are a little bit more difficult. Each question demands answers. You never want to say no comment. If you say no comment, that's pretty much an answer to a question. So you answer the question. If you can move on to your point that you want to make, you do that, and then you hit your message point. Keep it simple, don't ramble. You have only so much time when you're talking with a journalist to get your point across, so make sure that you know ahead of time, these are the things that I want to say, and say those things. Don't talk for, 5 minutes about something and then you really kind of lose what you want to talk about in that. Along those lines, be quotable. Say you have your message points. What are the things that if you were to find like a pull quote, so you're reading an article, like what is the thing that you would want them to quote you on in that article? Don't repeat a charge or pick up a reporter's negative language. You're always on the record. Journalists aren't your friends. I mean, they can be your friends, but make sure you tell them in advance of having a sensitive conversation. Whatever it is off the record. So just be very careful about what you're saying. Don't speculate or answer questions outside of your responsibility. I think this is an important one. Everyone in an interview wants to feel like they're able to provide answers to the things that they're being asked. But not all the questions they're going to ask you are ones that are actually within your realm of responsibility. It's a good opportunity to say, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to that right now. Can I go back to the person that does and get back to you? It's a good opportunity to kind of shift the conversation, and it's much better to do that than to, speculate on something and then it turns out being completely wrong. And then lastly, be an accessible, reliable source. The more that you can provide a journalist with a source for a story, the more the journalist is going to come back to you because they see that you're someone that they can work with time and time again, and that you're going to help them out with that story.